welcome to another deck profile. Woo, crowd scream wild. Ah! Anyhow, alright, so today we're looking at a deck that I like to call the Beyblade deck because that's what it does best. It just spins and spins and spins until it can't anymore, and then it just does it again. But anyhow, let's get to our good friend, UlforceVeedramon. Yay! I'm gonna leave that there for now because I took it out of the deck, but it is a part of the deck. Starting with our eggs because, you know, we're Nats ready, and we're not including restrictions yet because those don't go out till March 1st. So you bet we're gonna be running 4 Bukamons because what better way to deal with things than get free jamming just because there's no Digi-evolutions underneath your opponent's Digimon, which is pretty nice. So actually, it's not like no Digi-evolution, sorry, correction. It's while they have less Digi-evolution than you. And as you will learn that this can get pretty stacked. And then you get just free jamming. So why not run 4? It's pretty broken. Great. Moving on to our level 3s, with this, of course, being a Veedramon deck, or UlforceVeedramon deck, we are running a lot of Vmons because that is what we need to do. So our first level 3 is, of course, our Searcher Vmons. We are running 4 of them because you need to be able to find your pieces very, very quick, and that is what this will do very quick for you for a very reduced, well, not really reduced, but a very low cost, because you can just play it for 3 and you're able to fish for a Digimon Veedramon as long as it has Veedramon in its name, and a Tamer on top of that, which is really what you're going to find that this deck needs to do. You need Tamers and you need V and Veedramon as fast as you can. So it's pretty nice that you actually get to grab 2 pieces with this without having to pay a hefty cost for it. And of course, the inheritance underneath of as long as when you play a blue Tamer, gaining 1 memory. Super, super useful. Very good to have. Our next Vmons that we see here, of course, are our ST8 ones. On your turn, if your opponent has a level 6 or higher, this can Digivolve into UlforceVeedramon from your hand for a memory cost of 4, ignoring any Digi-evolution requirements. Very useful card, especially when you're in a pinch for that effect. If your opponent is already up to a level 6 and you aren't, literally a very reduced Digi-evolution very fast. The other nice thing about it, of course, is as long as you have 7 or fewer cards in your hand with the inheritance, you can draw 1. So again, better for fishing for pieces. So, of course, running 4 of those, keeping that sort of building going. And our last Vmons that we're running, of course, is the Inheritance Vmons from EX-5, allowing that when this Digimon becomes unsuspended during your main phase, gain 1 memory. When you do have your Ulforce out and you start becoming a Beyblade machine, you get to gain memory while doing it once per turn. So once this starts stacking with the others, level 4s and 5s, you can find that with Ulforce, you're going to be gaining a lot of memory very, very quickly, especially with not only the Vmons and the Veedramons, but also your Tamers on top of that. So pretty useful to have, which is good. Our level 4s, we start shifting into our good friend Veedramon, which is naturally the evolution of Vmon, which is pretty fun. First Veedramon, of course, is our, when you play a blue Tamer, draw 1 card. Great for just a really quick fishing for something, but of course you're getting the inheritance afterwards, which is kind of more so what you're focusing on with this particular Veedramon. You're trying to get that gaining memory once you have your Ulforce out on the field. But of course that Tamer effect is still very useful if, again, you maybe are trying to get that Ulforce and you're missing that piece. Very useful to fish it out. So we like that, of course. And of course we're running 4 because gotta have that body out. The other one is our Leomons. We are running what we like to call sort of a Leomon package. So you have the Jerry, which allows you to drop a Leomon for free. And of course you get that blocker with no cost. So usually you're trying to get the Leomons out with the Jerry, not so much hard playing them. Sometimes you'll digivolve into them if you're really lost for pieces and you don't have anything at all. Blocker's always super useful, but what's also good is, of course, the on deletion effect. You can gain 2 memory just by getting it deleted and drawing a card from that, which is pretty nice. So sometimes your opponent will try to swing into you to get that extra security attack. You block, it gets deleted, you gain 2 memory and pass turn, which is pretty useful. So we like Leomons, they're fun. The other one we're running is the hybrid Lanamon from BT-12. So this is great to have not only for its digivolving effect of getting a level 3 Digimon from your hand to the bottom of the Digievolution, and then gaining jamming, but also very good for, you know, if you're in a pinch and you need to hybrid on top of Davis or on top of any of your teamers, that's always pretty good. So you get that extra kind of buff there. For level 5, again, because it's an Ulforce deck, we have UlforceVeedramon. This is your once per turn. We're running 4 of these, of course, which allows you to suspend the Digimon, reveal the top 3, and you can add all blue Tamer cards among them to your hand. So very useful for when you're fishing for arenas, especially. I find that this becomes your best card to have in your Digievolution, because you suspend it, find your Tamers, add them all to your hand, and then you can kind of move forward from there, which is pretty nice. You also have its inheritance, which plays with that Rena, which is why it's kind of useful for grabbing the Rena. You can activate your Rena's on play effect when you are attacking, which is pretty good. So you can literally like have Rena on the field and then activate its effect, allowing you to effectively re-swing with Ulforce again, which is pretty good. So we like those. We run 4, which is amazing. And then we're also running now our Zoodamons. This is a newer card to be added to the deck, considering it is BT-14, and it is the Blues Ace Digimon, basically. So having that ability to blast Digivolve and counter your opponent while they're swinging, you can trash any 2 Digievolutions from your opponent's Digimon and return one of your opponent's Digimon that have no Digievolution to their hand. This is very busted in a good way for blue players, because they can effectively, let's say that your opponent has an ace card under their Digievolution, you can literally just say like, hey, that one's gonna go, and get the overflow from removing that off of the field, and then you can maybe maintain turn or pass turn back to you, kind of thing. So very cool card to have in the deck now, and very useful with that, whether you're choosing to use it as the counter or choosing to use it just as a Digievolution on its own. So ace cards are pretty great, and we're running 2 of those. And then, of course, we're running 4 of our Beyblades themselves, the UlforceVeedramons. When you are Digivolving into UlforceVeedramon, you get to play a blue Tamer card from your hand without paying the memory cost. So you're pulling out your Renas, specifically more focused on your Renas, but sometimes you do have to pull out your Jerrys or your Davis, which allow you to search or get your blockers on the field. When the Tamer is played, you get to unsuspend this. So, for example, if you have your suspended Arrow V already suspended, and you Digivolve into Ulforce, play the Tamer, you can unsuspend it. And then if you have that Rena on the field, also you can chain it and get the evade and the blitz, I think? I'll double check. But you basically get that extra buff there, which is pretty nice. Hang on, let me double check. I want to double check. Blocker and evade, sorry, not blitz. Brain remembered to be and then forgot. But essentially this becomes a big bodied blocker and you can evade stuff, which is pretty neat. And then of course your once per turn, you can return a level 3 or lower Digimon from your opponent to their hand. But if you have more Tamers, that level goes up. So it's very useful for bouncing level 6s and level 7s if you have a lot of Tamers on the field. pretty good. And then this, of course, with the arenas is when you can start re-Beyblading and having a good time, just suspending and unsuspending and popping things and attacking and then activating and going from there. So in theory, sometimes you can get a good 4 or 5 security checks, maybe 4 in a row, which is pretty nice if you don't hit anything major. So pretty sweet to have, of course, and it's an Ulforce deck, so you're going to have your staple. We're running the X antibody, of course, because why not have a Digivolve cost of 1 into an X antibody, and then sort of allowing you to unsuspend this. You basically unsuspend X antibody and or one of your tamers. You can choose between one or the other. So if you're in a pinch and you want to get that blocker back up, in theory, you can do it that way, or you can unsuspend one of your tamers and get the chance to kind of rechain stuff as you need. And then, of course, when you have the once per turn there, it's pretty nice to see the... you can kind of reduce and remove whatever your opponent's lowest level Digimon is to their hand again. So it kind of does what UlforceVeedramon does, but it does it a little bit differently, and it can't kind of recycle 1,000 times from there. Level 7s, there is no level 7 official Ulforce yet. So Death X is always kind of a good staple to have in the deck to effectively remove your opponent as best as you can, because it can de-digivolve everything by 1, and then delete anything that's level 4 or lower. So Death X is always a good card to have in a lot of decks right now, whether you're digivolving into it or you're just playing it, depending on the how you play it. If your opponent has a lot of bodies on the field, you can sometimes play this for free, which is pretty nice, or for a very, very reduced cost, considering its cost gets reduced by 3 for every Tamer or Digimon on the field. So fun to do. Even with my Mastemon deck, when I have Death X and I'm playing against an Ulforce deck, I find that you can get this out for free very frequently, and that's always fun to do. For option cards, we are running 4 mental trainings. Again, these are the newer trainings that are out now. Almost kind of sometimes working for not only searching, but for the delay effect, which allows you to digivolve into a Digimon for a reduced cost, which is always nice. We like anything that allows us to reduce costs for digivolving is always good to have. It's also nice for fishing because you can add a blue card, whatever you find, to your hand. So that could be either Tamers or any of your, maybe you're missing your Ulforce and you can add it to your hand. Maybe you want a particular, maybe you're looking for Zudamon or whatever, you can add those to your hand. Or if you're looking for a Tamer, it's very useful to have. So it's nice to play that. And then, of course, once you have a lot of these on the field, considering they're so cheap to play, for each turn in Digivolving, you can activate the delayed effect once they've been out for a round or a turn. So that's always pretty fun to have for option for mental training. And following that, we have our blue memory boost. Again, very good for searching, very good for gaining memory. Kind of the usuals to have sort of in a blue deck when you're especially trying to keep turn or trying to increase that memory. The searching is very nice with these, and the cost is pretty cheap, so it's always good. And then we go into our Tamers. Here is the beautiful Rena in all of her glory of triggering the Beyblade of UlforceVeedramon, which is great. So Rena's on play, of course, is until the end of your opponent's turn, one of your Digimon with Vmon or Veedramon can gain blocker and evade. So you know it. You Digivolve your Ulforce. Ulforce plays Arena. This Ulforce can now have blocker and evade, which is so broken in so many ways, but so good for the deck, which is good. And then following that, of course, when one of your Digimon become suspended, you can suspend the Tamer to reactivate the Digivolve or when Digivolving effect. So, of course, when you have, for example, Ulforce becoming suspended, whether it's because they're attacking or because they just got turned around, you can activate your good friend when digivolving back, which allows it to unsuspend. And it kind of just cycles through. And then, of course, when one of your blue Digimon becomes suspended, you get to gain 1 memory. So this is where you essentially have your Beyblading a lot, because you can literally keep cycling and playing arenas each time, activating them individually. And once all 4 of your arenas are out, you can play another Tamer, and you get that 1 extra thing, which is pretty good. So arenas you have to run 4. There's no way you can run the Ulforce deck. I mean, you can run it with 3, but you're gonna run into kind of feeling shorthanded if you don't run 4. So yeah, 4 arenas, kind of useful. We also have our Jerrys. We're running 3 of them. Jerry's always good because you get that Leomon out, so this helps you build your blockers and build your bodies. Also, when your opponent's Digimon is attacking, you get to draw 1. So again, helps you kind of find pieces you need and lets you play a little bit better. So the more Jerrys you can get out, the more bodies of blockers you have. And then of course your Leomons, if you're trying to swing them to get them off of the field so you gain that memory, always useful. 2 Davis, these are your memory setter Davises, so they get you that automatic 3, which is always good. And of course they help you search. Although this one allows you to search and add a blue and green Digimon, you're using this specifically for adding a blue Digimon to your hand. So Davis is always kind of good for searching when you need it, especially early game. If you can get Davis out to help you search, super useful. And then you have your tie, which is always good too. This one, of course, is as long as you have Veedramon in its name, you can suspend the Tamer to activate 1 of the effects that are there, which of course is, if you're looking for searching, you're probably going to do the draw 1 option. And if you're looking for, maybe you're trying to swing into security and you want to guarantee your safety, you can get that plus 1,000 to your Digimon. So it's a good flex card if you're looking for something that you're trying to get more attack on versus more defense, or if you're trying to get attack versus searching. Pretty good card to have. And then lastly, you have your Sora and Joe, which allows you to gain some memory when your opponent has any Digimon that don't have any Digievolution, meaning that if your opponent has all cards that don't have Digievolution, you still gain that 2 memory. But if they have 1 card that has a Digievolution, then you don't gain the 2 memory, which is kind of a bummer, but they got to make it somewhat balanced, which is good. And then, of course, when a blue Digimon on your side is attacking, you can suspend the Tamer to trash 2 Digievolutions from 1 of your opponent's Digimon. So again, with Sora and Joe, you have the advantage of kind of like Zudamon, where you can control and remove, for example, the Ace from your opponent's Digievolution stack, which is pretty good. And then you get that overflow and you can kind of continue from there. So that's pretty much that. But as you can see, there are a lot of Tamers here because, you know, gotta have that Tamer build. But I think once you go from, or rather once the March 1st restriction comes out, you're probably gonna see that Bukamon will be switched back to Wanya or any of the other little blue ones. I can't remember what the other blue one is off the top of my head, but that's okay. But it'll probably switch back, or some people will probably be running 5 with one of them being Bukamon, and then the Wanyamons underneath, like having 4 Wanya and 1 Buka. So you might notice a change there, which is pretty cool. But essentially, that is a Nats Ready UlforceVeedramon deck. So take what you will, have fun, enjoy, and that's it. We'll see you at the next one. Bye!